Hey guys, what is up? What is up? Welcome to the Pick and Roll Podcast, episode number 78. What is up, guys? I'm here with Kosai Glanny, Nikki Steves, Blaze Radio, and Rio from the Just Fans Podcast. What is up, Nikki? How you doing there? I like those glasses there.
Hey, what's up?
CEO Nikki Steve. CEO.
I
Well,
really think
tomorrow is the 4th of July, and it's fitting.
it's true.
But actually, I got
1984.
these a while back. There was like at a beach bar, Michael Jackson and Prince DJ
Yeah.
tribute, and they gave me the glasses.
Ah, nice.
Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Who's bad?
I love you guys. This is great. What's up to everyone in the chat? We got Mello, we got Earl, we got Daniel, we got this guy. I don't know who this guy is. Can someone tell me who that guy is?
Tobias Harris.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what? Hey, he's on Detroit now, like I called it. 2 years, 52 mil.
well, we should have got rid of him and got Bogdanovich and Burks. That could have helped us.
Well, Detroit turned that down. And what is up? What is up? How you doing? What is up, my guy? Thank you for stopping by. So let's just get this started. And Kemba Walker, he retires. Hey, I don't know about you guys, but I was a huge fan of his game. I always watched highlights. I always watched him when he played for Charlotte. So good career for Kemba. Got a lot of money in his payday. So how do you guys feel about him retiring, Coach?
Hey, more power to you. I mean, his game is, the game is in a sense past him. So I think, him signing on to be a coach with Charlotte, that might be a good thing for him. So, hey, but I mean, as far as his career, congratulations, did well from UConn all the way up. So, you can't be mad at the kid.
You cannot. And Nikki, how do you feel about Kemba Walker retiring?
I mean, hey, he got out of the way. He knew it was time to move on. I mean, because, he had a good run. Then UConn and the Hornets, even with Boston at first, once they moved on from Kyrie. But then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, he did a complete 180 and he was done. But at least he walked away. I mean, granted, maybe he should have officially retired when the Mavs cut him. But, hey, he understood, he had a good run. It was over. He accepted the fact that his best years were behind him and moved on. And good for him, and best of luck in his future endeavors.
Yeah. Blaze, how do you feel about Kemba Walker retiring?
I don't know how I feel about it, but this guy feels about it. I got the money. Give me the bag. Tobias to Detroit, baby. The greatest of all time. I would never retire. He's a pussy for retiring. I ain't never retired. Tobias Harris, Pistons championship.
Where's Shawn
Even
Michaels
okay.
to retire him when you need it?
Yeah.
Right?
Championship, Detroit. You heard it. Championship.
Yeah.
Got his
So.
jersey on and everything.
You said championship? Okay.
Yeah, he did. Detroit
Here you
champ.
go.
Yeah. All right.
Plenty of them.
So Blaze, how do you feel about Kemba Walker retiring?
I mean, I wished he would have been able to come to fruition like he was early in his career, man. That dude was a lightning bolt. He was a scoring machine. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things. You look back at careers of like Bo Jackson, these athletes that were like super athletes that you're thinking if they wouldn't have had these problems or these injuries or this wouldn't have happened, what would have happened? Like Kemba had so much promise. And you think, man, this dude's like I don't want to say Jordan, but he had some of those qualities, but he was smaller. He was shorter, like an Iverson Jordan combination because he had both of the qualities. And it kind of sucks he didn't get to go. I mean, but the dude was an amazing ball player. I mean, his career just kind of fleeted away. So it's a shame when they talk about Kemba Walker, they won't talk about how great he was in college and how he started his career. They're probably going to talk about how his career fleeted into virtually nothing and he had to just retire. It wasn't like it. So it's kind of a sad story for someone with that much talent. But he got to live that part of the dream that, we all would love to. And a lot of people, millions and millions of people would love to live. But I just wish he would have got to shine a little more, I guess.
Yeah, Daniel, I don't see that happening either. God.
Go watch his video.
Rio, how do you feel about Kemba Walker retiring?
No, I agree with Nick. He should have retired a couple of years ago, especially when he got cut the first time. Like, it should have been like, you know what? Maybe I don't have it anymore. Father Time is undefeated, and he was exciting to watch early on in his career, but it's just he never went on the trajectory everybody thought he was going to take, and it sucks. But he just got to have a decent career in the NBA, which most people can't say. So, hey, best of luck to him in his future endeavors.
Yeah. Didn't he have like his own shoe at one point, and then didn't he get injured from that, or was that someone else I'm thinking about? Okay, it might have been someone else.
Might have been somebody else.
Yeah, it's trying to it popular online. That shouldn't bother me.
I mean, he has 5 years of over 20 points a game. So I wouldn't have thought that. I only thought he had a couple years, but he has 5 years, one at 19.3. So basically like 6 years that he averaged over 20 points a game. You got to kind of consider that a success. I mean,
yeah, he wasn't a slouch or anything.
Yeah. But he could have been huge. He should have been like a perennial all-star, talking about top 100, stuff like that. Like taking a team to the finals and stuff. He never got to do that shit.
I thought he was going to be like coming out of college. I thought he was going to be like kind of like D-Wade a little bit. You'd be able to get the finals, being a shorter guard, but just never happened.
He got stuck with the Hornets. That's what his problem was.
Yeah,
never going to be that. Grace that would. You'd be the saving grace that would give him the opportunity to be a star and lead a team. And it looked like that first year, I got him to the conference finals, but he can keep going from there. But then all of a sudden, his run with the Knicks and then the Mavericks, and you're just like, oh man, really? It felt like, he was finally going to break out and lead a team, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah,
he had a solid run, but
he's not the greatest. He's not the greatest Hornet ever.
Larry Johnson, Grandmama.
You can go Johnson or you can go Alonzo. Yeah, one of those two.
Yeah, can't go wrong with one of those two.
Hey, Melo, coming from the team that actually started this thing, trust the process, we're still doing it. So I don't know.
I know he's with the Heat a lot, but wasn't Glenn Rice with the Hornets?
Yeah.
Into
the Heat.
I'm trying to think who else.
Rex Chapman, one of my favorites.
Muggsy Bogues.
Muggsy Bogues, I was going to say. I was trying to think of the movie Eddie and seeing all those guys, all that. That's
my movie.
What is up, Merrick? How you doing, man? So I need to go back and watch that movie and just like, okay, who was there? Who was there? Del Curry.
Del Curry. What's his name? Who came over from Georgetown? Who played with Patrick? Was it David Wingate? Yeah, David Wingate.
How about
Baron Davis? Wesley? Yeah, Baron Davis. Yep.
Anthony Mason, Eddie Jones, Del Curry,
Kendall Gill.
Kendall Gill. Yeah.
Kendall Gill.
I love his game.
Loved Kendall Gill. Yep.
Junior Reed.
Oh, yeah. J.R. Reed. Yeah.
J.R. Reed. Yeah.
Yeah. Carolina boy.
Man, all these names are taking me back.
I remember when the Hornets were an expansion team. I remember when they first came in the league. It was like everyone wanted that Hornets starter jacket. Like that was if you didn't have an NBA team, you had a Hornets starter jacket. It was like if you didn't have, or if you just had an NBA team, that was like the jacket to have.
It was. I remember having one of those.
Tony.
Which
Del,
one? Because you had the purple one, and then you had the
teal
one.
The teal one as a kid.
Yeah, Hornet gear was because those were colors that you didn't see a lot either, the teal and the purple. And when that came out and they had the teal and purple stripes on the front, those jerseys were hard. Oh, man.
They should bring those back. That should be their main ones, honestly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in free agency, a player went to a new team. That was Rios' one of his rivals, Klay Thompson, going to Dallas. So I'm just going to ask you guys, is Klay Thompson washed? I'm going to start with Rios on this one.
Man, I don't know. I don't know if it's father time or he was just disinterested towards the end of the season. But when you go 0-10 in an elimination game, that kind of speaks volumes. Either means that you're either washed or you just gave up on your team, which isn't good either way. So we'll see if Dallas gives him a fresh start. Maybe he just wants to be, maybe on an organization with less eyes on it than the Warriors. They've been a dynasty the last 10 years. So maybe, because I think I saw somewhere he was looking to go somewhere where he doesn't feel like he's in a fishbowl. and Dallas will be the place for that. It's a smaller market team. You know, they've been to the finals this past year, but I mean, they're historically not been considered like, you know, one of the premier leagues in the team. So not as many eyes on them, especially nationally. So maybe it'll be good for them. We'll see.
Blaze.
Now, you know, this is one of the ones where I thought should have been coming to Philadelphia. In hindsight, looking at the price of Paul George compared to, you know, I know we just picked him up in free agency compared to what 2 second rounders and a player that they got Clay for. I'm like, wait a minute. And then there's, you know, I'm not discounting Paul George at all. He was no doubt the number one free agent. All right. You know, let's get that out there right now. I mean, but I'm sitting there going, Paul George spending that much. Clay, I said it to Mitch a million times. Clay and Markkanen probably would have been a better 1-2 punch if I was the Sixers going for instead. I mean, Clay, I think, still has some gas in the tank. I'm hoping. Like Rio nailed it. I mean, I think it's a combination of the couple of things on why he might not have been happy with that team, which is a shitty way to not show up. If you're not happy, you still play. But I'm always the one who says, hey, a talented player in a new system or a new place, new coach, sometimes can be rejuvenated. I think that is even though the Paul George one is arguably the biggest because of the contract and it's such, I think the Clay pickup to a team that was just in the damn finals really does something for Dallas. I know we're going to talk about free agency a little more later, but the Clay thing, I'm hopeful that he could. I mean, he is that type of player where he doesn't need to do a shitload to have really big games. Like hit the clutch threes, play a little defense. I mean, they're not going to ask the world for him, you know. But if he can also at the same time come out one of those games where he hits 7 or 8 threes in a game, you know. And next thing you know, now you have that third player in the 20s, you know, and that's seems to be the hump that every team's trying to get to. Not necessarily a big 3. But maybe 4 or 3, maybe possibly 5 players like the Celtics that can be in the 20s for your team instead of counting on 2 guys scoring 40 apiece or whatever. So I think the Clay pickup for Mavs is, in my opinion, the biggest pickup in free agency, but really close with Paul George second, because I think that the value of Clay alongside someone like Markkanen, because correct me if I'm wrong, Philly's out of the Markkanen competition now because they had to pay Paul George so damn much. And we knew Maxey was getting a max.
George is a bigger deal, though. That's going to be the one that's talked about. It's going to have
a
lot of big implications. And then Clay right behind that.
I just think this Markkanen, part of me right now is saying that they're not getting rid of Markkanen. They're just testing the waters. You know, because I would think there'd be more serious stuff. And that dude has everything, man. He has everything. And he's not like the type that needs to take over a team. He could be a perfect complement to a team that already has a couple good players, great players. So, I mean, the Clay move, I'm hoping he still has in it. But at the same time, if I'm judging off of what he's done the last couple of years, like Rio said, that might be a flop if Clay can't bring it back at least to 60% of what he used to be, because the dude has a pure shot. It's almost unblockable the way he shoots it. And he's that good. I mean, does he need to carry the whole workload? No. But I guess I'm a little spiteful because I wanted him and Markkanen over a PG as a resolution for 2 spots instead of 1. And that's just me personally. But I think Clay and Dallas, I mean, we always talk about needle movers or they're already over the hump. They made it to the finals and they just added arguably the best free agent out there. But like we keep on saying, these players, the Chris Pauls, the Paul Georges, they've been around the block. They're not young kids that have any more upside. Like all their upsides pretty much reached. We're just hoping they can dip back into what they were and give a team that extra hump to get to the finals. That's what all these players are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's perfectly put.
Yeah. Nikki, how about you?
As far as the Clay, I get it. I said this yesterday. I'm going to reiterate for everyone that didn't hear it. I get that the Mavs are doing it. They're like, hey, we got close. We had the best backcourt in the NBA currently with Luka and Kyrie. We made it to the finals, but our lack of depth compared to the Celtics roster killed us in the finals. Now we'll bring in a guy like Clay who could still give you some wide open looks, who still brings a veteran presence to the locker room. And then you get Quentin Grimes too, and Najee Marshall. They're trying to build up their roster a little bit more, try to make a run this year, maybe get back to and possibly win the finals. And I think Klay is a nice veteran piece. He could maybe still give you some buckets, but he doesn't have to do as much work. Will it actually work out that way? Time will tell, but I get what they're trying to do. This seems like they got the right idea. Whether Grimes, Marshall too, we're going in the right direction, but will it actually pan out? That remains to be determined. But I give them props for at least trying to make that one little step to do better than last year.
Mm-hmm. Coach, your thoughts on Klay Thompson going to the Mavericks? Is he washed?
No, he's not washed. He can, in terms of the game, especially playing with Kyrie and Luka, because they can also help open up his game, and they can take the pressure off of him, and they can force defenses to leave him wide open. And you know what? I'm sorry. If he's wide open, I will take my chances with him hitting a lot of shots. But here's a bigger factor, and I've been saying it now for a little while. He's going to be able to mentor Quentin Grimes, because Quentin Grimes coming out of Houston was an uber talented player. And he was a good defender. He was a good three-point shooter, which is what was Klay in his prime known for. Good defense and three-point shots. And Quentin Grimes lost his confidence with the Knicks for some reason. And he fell out of favor in Detroit. I mean, I think some of it was the injury. But you playing with a veteran, a champion veteran like Klay, who's going to tell you exactly how to play in the NBA and how to defend and how to get the open spots, how to read what the defense is doing, how to play off of Luka and Kyrie, so this way you can get your shots, because he's another one. When he gets going, when he gets hot, he can flame it, and then his handle, he can attack the paint. So now it actually gives you a third ball handler to play along, just to give Luka and Kyrie a little break from time to time. So Klay will give you a whole lot more than people are really realizing. They're just saying, oh, he can't score 50 points a game. You don't need him for that. Give me 12 to 12 points a game, somewhere in that range, and be a good veteran leader in the locker room. And hey, you know what? He may even help temper Kyrie and Luka. And also, if they get back to the finals, he can show them how to close out and win the championship. So he's more valuable than people realize. So no, he's not washed. He gives you a whole lot more. It's not just about his scoring.
Yeah, hey, I said this last week with Klay too. Never underestimate the value of pure competition with these elite players. He's out to prove he can. I know he still has two new players now that can complement him. He's out to prove he could do it without Steph. All them years, everyone's just going to say, well, you had Steph. You had Steph. You were Splash Brothers. You had Steph. He goes and wins another ring with another team. That's autumn. I mean, he's Hall of Fame regardless, in my opinion, but you might as well throw a jacket on him right away. He gets another ring with a different team. And I was thinking while we're talking about this, I was thinking about the finals. Think about how Boston moved the ball around the court really well. Always looked for those threes. Dallas was doing the same thing, or tried to, but it was never as fluid. Now with an extra person, like Coach was just saying, Klay on a wing while they're whipping the ball around, instead of like, it looked like they were trying to get it back to Luka all the time. Like, it's got to come back around unless it's a Jones or someone in a corner three. It was never, the wing was never like solid. It was always, get it back to Luka or get to Kyrie to create. Now I'm just thinking of those same plays late in this, all through the series with Boston, where Klay would have been part of that process of getting the ball around, and he's going to hit wide open threes like you're talking about. That changes that whole series, in my opinion, if he plays anything. Now, also one last thing. Remember when we first saw Luka and Kyrie play? It didn't work right away. So throwing someone else into the mix might not work right off the bat. You got three, like Coach just said, three that can handle the ball, three that can slash, three that can shoot from anywhere. So it might take a couple months in the beginning of the season for these three to click. See, look what we saw with the Suns trying to get their big three to work. You know, having 3 guys to score 20 or more is one thing. Making them work within your offensive system is
Suns
a
also
whole
was a
new
different
ball game.
story, though. It failed considering the expectations. Now the Mavs, they are, to your credit, in similar situation now with those type of expectations, especially being that they made the finals last year. Whereas the Suns the year before Beal got bounced in the second round. So they didn't have as much pressure on them.
Yeah.
I feel like the Mavs have more pressure on them with Clay now that I think about it.
Remember we were talking about the Nuggets last year? Whenever this time of the year happened, we're like, well, they're favorites to win because they only lost a couple pieces that ended up being even more important pieces than we thought, you know, from the bench, you know, when injuries happen and stuff. And we're thinking, oh, the Nuggets didn't need to make as many moves. It's like now with Dallas, they didn't win, but they are making moves, all 3 of these moves, which improve their team. And that's what you want your team to do at this time.
And they didn't lose anybody on top of that.
Yeah.
Because Denver's losing more people this year. It's like,
who Dallas did lose, they weren't utilizing or weren't working. Like Hardaway wasn't working. These players weren't working, and they weren't playing in that system well. So they got rid of like 3 pieces that really they weren't using at all. 4 pieces that are going to help them even more and make them deeper. It's a genius move for Dallas.
And here's another thing too. No one is talking about my guy can't speak. Defense. It's the defensive side. Klay Thompson's one of the best two-way players in the game today. And you have Luka and Kyrie, whose defense is not that good. And then behind them, you got Derek Lively and Gafford. Klay Thompson can help down the perimeter defense as well. Because who did they have to guard Tatum, Brown? Did they really have anyone to guard those guys? I'm not saying Klay can guard them, but I'm just saying it helps a little bit. So
Luka's shadow, basically.
Yeah. Yep. That's basically it. And then Blaze, you talked about this a little earlier. Lauri Markkanen. Is he actually going to get traded?
I'll finish my thought from the first part where basically it seems like they're just testing the waters now. It's like, you know, we've seen this kid do just about everything, you know, and he's still pretty young and he can make a big difference on a team, in my opinion, as that 3rd piece or even a 4th piece, maybe even a 2nd piece to a team. And we've seen all the talk about, and let me correct myself from earlier too. I talked about age and how the CP3s and the Paul Georges and the Clays are a little up in age. If these guys can still go and they're healthy, these are valuable players that can help a team be a championship team. Don't get me wrong. These are perennial all-stars, but at the same time, age, you know, you've seen players play later into their careers, but someone playing into their 30s well and affecting a team is realistic, you know, but even though we have 19, 20-year-olds coming into the league now, it's just crazy that it's almost like someone can play with their son on the same team or something.
Imagine that.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm actually glad you said that because one of the Lakers players just left. Taurean Prince just signed with the Bucks. He just signed it. It just broke. So I'm glad you brought up that.
Good for him.
Just broke, yeah. he needed to get out there, and he did.
I tell you what, though, you guys talked about like the Collier and the other guys that the Jazz.
Isaiah Collier.
They have a nice little. If they can keep Markkanen and the youth that they have, the Jazz have a nice little farm system there to start. You know, as we saw, OKC
they had a very good draft.
Nowhere. Yeah,
I think they won the draft.
They had
in
a really
my opinion.
good draft.
I think they won. But
I mean, Markkanen, he should have been traded. He should be on the Sixers right now.
He's not going anywhere.
I don't think.
Guarantee he'll be there game 1.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. If I was them, I wouldn't want to get rid of him because I think he's about to break out. I mean, he showed it this year off and on. I think he's about to break out. So he could
he's on the cusp of that breakout season.
He could be the man there next year. And, you know, we'll be talking about possible MVP in Utah. Now, I don't see them going very far as a team, but he's the type of player who can take over a game.
Yeah. So, Coach, how do you feel about this with Lauri Markkanen? He's staying or going, in your opinion?
As of right now, he's not going anywhere. If you look at the league, the market, where is he going to go? And Danny Ainge has already proven he's going to try and get every drop of blood from whatever organization he deals with. So he's not just going to let him go for a bag of peanuts. So you tell me where in the league he would actually go where Utah is going to get the most value back. So, and no, I can't see him going anywhere. Personally, not me.
Rios?
He ain't going. No, you don't trade franchise cornerstone type players. Not this early, especially to who. Like the only thing that could possibly give them, what they would consider fair compensation would be like the Thunder. But why would they trade for him? They're already set.
Yeah. Nikki?
I'm trying to figure out though, where would he go though? Marketing. I'm thinking probably a team that's just desperate for players, most likely. But the question is, will they be able to put together a package?
The Warriors are the one I keep hearing because they did just lose Clay. I mean, we're not comparing the players, but
the Warriors might get Buddy Hield, please.
That's another one.
That's what they're saying.
More of like a replacement for Clay. So Warriors are one searching.
Yeah, right. Because they're desperate. They know their time at the top is either at the end or in thin ice. It's not officially over yet, but if they come back next year of another similar season, then it's over for sure. But they might try to go for him just to try to get somebody to try to save whatever's left and salvage it from there. Or maybe maybe like, another. It's hard to think of teams that are going to get him though. Like
it's not about. It's not bad. It's not about what team he's going to go to. It's what they can get in return. Because remember what they got for Rudy Gobert. They got like 5 first-round picks. Can you imagine if they actually traded Lauri Markkanen again and then get even more first-round picks?
And that's where I think they would. I think they're going to be looking 4 or 5 first-round picks for him too.
I think the Warriors would be a likely candidate.
Based on how the other trades and stuff where I would think that, like we're talking about him being a perennial all-star possibly and stuff, that is worth 4 or 5 picks. We're going into Sixers don't have no 10, 20, 32 picks, 20, 33.
Look at a guy like Mikal Bridges. He's not as good as Markkanen, and he got 4 first round.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
A team like the Nets,
Blake like that's where I was going. Yeah.
What sets the precedent when that happens? Like Paul George, when he gets that contract, it's like when someone else gets their contract, they're going to be looking for $50 million as well. I think that's why LeBron was like, "I'm going to take a pay cut." Wait, PG got 50. Well, I can't go below 50. I'll take a $1 million pay cut.
Subject right there.
Oh yeah, 2 years, 104 mil or 102.
I'm telling you, he didn't want to make less than Paul George because Paul George just got 50. Set the market. He set the fucking market.
Rios, do you think at all there's a shot your team would jump in, or do you think nah?
I doubt it because it's Sengun.
Yeah. Pelicans is another team I've seen on the market.
I think they got the piece to make a trade, but I don't think he would fit on this roster because they're trying to build around Sengun. So
the Pelicans, that's a good one.
How is he going to fit with the Pelicans?
Are fine. Pelicans are good.
He can't fit with the Pelicans.
No.
Yeah,
you got CJ McCollum, you got DeJounte Murray, you got Zion, and you got Brandon Ingram.
Well, they're trying to move Ingram, so if they lose,
who would take Ingram now?
Yeah. Well, it's the Warriors, Kings, Spurs, Timberwolves, and Pelicans. There's your teams.
Unless your team desperate for a bench guy, then
Wolves
take Ingram.
Wolves.
The Bulls.
He said
they can't trade anybody right now.
Warriors, Kings, Spurs, Timberwolves, and Pelicans are on the
Wolves.
Spurs, that's a potential one. They're trying to get a piece
Minnesota, not Chicago.
Why would Minnesota trade for Markkanen?
No, I don't think. No.
Yeah, where would he play?
Anthony, can you imagine that though? Anthony Edwards and Lauri Markkanen?
I can't see you.
Hey, that would be awesome, but in real life, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. That was my point.
To Minnesota, Utah is not going. They're not going to take back Gobert, and they're not going to take Cat. So now, if you're going to tell me you're going to give up Anthony Edwards for him, then you'd be a fool. So that's what I'm looking. I'm like, Minnesota
for Markkanen, it would be 4 or 5 first round picks because some of the big names and stuff are already gone. They're going to have to throw 3 or 4 years worth of picks at him, and as we all said, he ain't going nowhere. Next topic.
Well, yeah. Now the Lakers are interested in Kuzma.
Yeah, I saw Sixers Kuzma interest too. Interest is one thing. If you're a good player, of course, there's going to be a bunch of teams that are interested in you. That's not news to me. Or in talks with, that's a different story.
I forget who said this about Kuzma. It's empty stats for Kyle Kuzma. I forget who said that. Just like it's all the stats doesn't accumulate to wins or whatever. So I really forgot who.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, yeah, because like his rookie season, he was a little bit older than Lonzo, and he's putting up better numbers, but he was close to his ceiling at that point. The Lonzo Ball was his rookie year.
Wait, who again?
Kuzma.
Kuz. Yeah, and
it's not like Lonzo had a spectacular rookie year.
He did, but I remember the chatter during their rookie seasons. But I'm like, Kuzma was older. He was closer to ceiling than Lonzo was at that point. And he's been basically the same player his rookie season until now. Just empty stats.
Yeah. Now, Blaze, you did bring up the Sixers. Do they have the best big three in the NBA now?
No, we can't be doing that. We can't do that yet. They haven't played together.
I know.
That's what we learned with the other ones.
I know.
Paper big threes don't make a big three.
Right.
I know.
If you want a hot take or whatever, and this isn't really a hot take. This is a big three that is boom or bust, in my opinion.
Yes.
This is one that is either going to put them over the hump and have those 20+ players that are consistent and healthy, and they are going to be trouble, or he doesn't fit. It doesn't make an impact. We got another Clippers scenario where you got three good players, but they're not all on all cylinders. They can't hit on all cylinders at the same time. This is a boom or bust one. As a Sixer fan, I'm biased. I hope it's boom, but I would have went for the two players instead of just the one. But I get why they did it. The familiarity. He's a good fit, but you cannot say best big three against any other three that's been playing for 2 or 3 years together. Mm-hmm. They're going to have the advantage already because they've played 2 or 3 years together, and they might not be the top. And I don't think big three is that important. Boston and Denver proved it to us the last 2 years.
It's not. That's why I didn't want them to begin with.
It's your 7-man rotation.
Yeah.
Boston
I didn't want
had
Paul George to begin with.
That were all-star players. That's like having a big six, if you really want to talk about it now.
Yeah, and being health, that comes down to it.
Try to have so many all-stars or people that could be all-stars that goes into your bench, like Boston had.
Yeah. So the only reason I'm saying that, because people are saying like, oh, they're right up there, they're biggest threat to Boston right now. And I'm like, how? We don't have a 4. Right. How?
Dude,
like,
we haven't even played together. We don't know if
I know.
the guys are going to stay healthy
it's typical media for you. It's typical media for me.
Because they want to hype it up.
Yeah.
That's something to talk about.
I mean, you can't, as a Sixer fan, and I'm not that typical Sixer fan, you got to be happy that they made moves. I mean, literally, I heard earlier that Daryl Morey's been waiting for this for 3 years. He finally got everybody off the books except for Maxey and Embiid. So this is like his team. He's waited so he could build a team instead of taking on, from the past, the Simmonses, the Fultzes, all these errors.
Bring on the past. He brought back Drummond.
He brought in Harden.
And then he brought an old guy named Eric Gordon.
I had him as my GM for 7-8 years. I've seen this story before.
But it's like finally he has his hand in the pot where it's just not like picking scraps up. This team is, there's no excuses from here. And you only had 2 guys on the books. Everybody else is under your wing now. You can't say that was from the past or that was before me. And I wasn't celebrating the past. I was saying he's moving on from it. He's trying to start his own now around his 2 superstars. And I mean, we could be sitting here, and I think I heard Mitch say this on one of his streams. We could be sitting here going, damn, the Sixers didn't do shit. We got to play with the same team next year. But that wasn't the case at all. They unloaded Tobias. They picked up some good pieces that are secondary pieces. It wasn't just we got Paul George and that's it. They picked up many pieces, but will they work together is going to be the thing.
The biggest piece I hate, the biggest signing I hate is Eric Gordon. Like
I don't
that's
mind
the
him,
biggest.
like I said in your stream the other night. If they're picking him to start as the point guard, yes, that's the problem. If they're picking him to come in, like him and the Drummond, they're just supplemental pieces to me. They're the what ifs.
Yeah.
They're Maxey and Embiid's backup plan. They're not going to save the world, but they're not Tobias Harris. They're players who can just play level playing field and maybe hold us above water. So I see what he's doing. He's going for people that are familiar with the people on the team, the system, or whatever. He's trying to build a team. Like we're seeing that, as we talked about, the Denvers and the Bostons, how to construct a team has changed. And I don't know if it's going to work. I'm hoping because I'm a fan of the team. But to see him kind of rebuild within 1 year, like you talked about that gap year last year over and over, Mitch, how it was going to be a year where – and it kind of was because it needed – everybody to get off the books and then really build around your two stars. Now they didn't know Maxey was going to be a star. They didn't realize they're going to have to deal with Embiid being hurt every year. So it's a conundrum that they had. But as a Sixer fan, you can't sit here and say they've done a shitty job in free agency in the draft. You can't. You can be upset about pieces of it, but for them to rebuild within 1 year is literally what they just did. You can't you can complain because Philly people will complain, but literally we could be sitting here going, man, they made no moves. They traded away their draft picks. So making a bunch of moves is better than doing nothing.
I agree with that.
There's so many teams that have to go into the shitter for a couple years before they can rebuild. Yeah, the team, you should be happy that your team, this is what I go through with Steeler fans all the time. Oh, you're mediocre because we have a winning season for 20 years. I'll take that. You have a better chance of making it to the Super Bowl if you're winning every year. The idea that that's mediocre, no, that's step one in being a champion is having winning seasons. So not having a complete rebuild, I think, is a success story already for Philly.
At the same time, because how many years are you going to stay stuck at step one?
That's what I mean. This is like the all-in. It's finally a rebuild without having to rebuild because there's all these new pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah. So, Coach,
his facial expressions, they are priceless. You'll see what I mean during games, man. You'll see what I mean.
Yeah. So, Coach, Nick asked you a question here. How do you feel about this as a Knicks fan with the Sixers?
How do I feel about Sixers?
Yeah.
How I feel about the Sixers?
Mm-hmm. Like with all the moves they made. That's fair.
No, seriously. I mean, look, you guys have been hitting it on the head. First and foremost, everything is a wait and see. Whether I'm a Knicks fan with the Knicks, the Sixers, you don't know until you go out and you play the game. You've seen teams that, you're like, that doesn't make sense. And then next thing you know, they're balling their asses off. You've seen teams that have, they're the shit. And then next thing you know, they're flopping all over the place. It's too early to tell. I will say this as a Knicks fan,
Ross.
with what we lost in terms of Hartenstein and what you got with Embiid and Drummond, I've said it, that right there going up against Mitchell Robinson, that's like, okay, that's a problem right there alone, and Mitchell Robinson is injury prone. But then you look at Boston, okay, but Boston with Porzingis and then Horford, you guys, you can say you have the better center position, but as far as the team, they're better. They're probably as a better team right now. Do you have talent? Yes. It's also a matter of fact, injuries. That's going to be a big, big, big factor. Paul George, 34 years old, always injury prone every year. Embiid is over 30 now. The injury issues. So, and if one of those two goes down for a significant amount of time for the season, that could derail your whole season. So it's a wait and see right now. As Blaze said, you hope as a Sixers fan it works out, because if it works out and you play well, and I will say this, I've been saying this from the get-go, it's Boston and then Philly, New York, Milwaukee right now.
Yep.
That's it right now. You can't debate me on that right now because Boston is the champs. And until you take it away from the champs, they have to be put above everyone else. Period. Case closed. And then Philly, New York, and then Milwaukee.
Damien, time for Damien's dumb comment of the day. Damien smoking that good stuff today, people.
Look at Rios' face.
He's good for a dumbass comment every show.
Yo, Damien, man. I got a kilo, bro. Let's you and I talk, bro. Let's you and I talk. Seriously.
Damien,
Rios' face, he was like, what?
That hurt my brain reading that. Like, what the
he tried. Damien tried. That hurt my brain. I could only read the first line. I had lost me after.
Yeah.
Tommy, you know what? I got what you're saying, but bro, I mean, it's not even Tatum for me. It's Brown. Brown is that whole team right there.
Yeah.
He's that whole team.
Their best two-way player.
Yes, I've been saying it, and so, and I'm not going to say Boston, New York, then Philly. I said it before. Boston is above the other three. You know, now if you want to say Orlando is sneaking to get into that second tier, you can make a small argument for Orlando, but
you can actually
Boston.
make an argument for the Cavs too. You could.
Yes,
right
you can.
It depends on what they do with Jared Allen. If Jared Allen is gone, that's going to hurt their stock. If they keep him there and Evan Mobley, they'll be right there in that conversation.
Would I want Kessler Walker with the Knicks? It depends on what you're giving up to get him. As of right now, hell no. Now, if Utah, and I'm talking about Utah, I'm looking at Utah. Utah is going to want to rip the Knicks a new bunghole. They really are. So, no, I mean, there's no way.
Anyone got the BB the button?
4 first rounders, somebody's firstborn son. Like,
yeah. So no, I'm as much as I know we need another low post backup to Mitchell. I mean, what are we going to give up? I mean, Nets fans are talking about, oh, well, the Knicks are going to have to give up Miles McBride. No, you're not getting Miles McBride. I don't care what the finalization of the deal is. You're not getting Miles McBride. You're going to figure out. And I read somewhere else that the Knicks have to do something else, and then the Nets will end up having that draft picks, which the Knicks are not going to do. So, nah. I'm not giving up anything for Kessler Walker right now. You know, not even draft picks. Nope.
I wouldn't either, honestly. I wouldn't.
Hey, I'll go one further.
And then hold on, one thing, Blaze. One other thing too. He's a young player, and he's going to need to get paid eventually. So it's like, you know, because you're going to pay Julius and you're going to pay Brunson probably with it next year. And then after that, it's.
You're both up together.
Fire. Shut up. Shut up, Beavis.
What I was going to say is I'm going a step further. Boston, Milwaukee, and New York. Philly ain't there yet. I can't put them there.
Blaze, I get it, Blaze. I get it as a fan, the superstition. But bro, come on.
Paper, these players have never played together yet.
It's the same thing with the Knicks. Then
your whole team has played together. He's brought.
No, we have. But you brought in a key component with Bridges.
Yeah, so he's going to change the whole. You got to work in Randall somehow too. So
you got to work in Randall, and that means Devo is now going to the bench. Hart is going to the bench. Remember, those guys played a lot of the season as starters, so now they got to go back to the bench and develop. So everything changes with Bridges. So that's why I'm saying, just like you, we have a lot to do. So
Knicks won 50 games. The Buck won 49.
And every
Sixers up there with them yet.
Every quote unquote sports enthusiast and everyone is said Sixers hands down over the Knicks. Everyone.
Not me.
No, not you guys. I'm talking about.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
And
I see what you sent me.
Yeah.
I see what you sent me.
Playing the small ball 5. I can't trust him for the whole season. On occasion, yeah, that's fine. I don't have
On
a problem
occasion,
with
I
that.
could see that.
Yeah, but if you're playing Boston, okay, maybe, but then he has to guard Porzingis, but then he can do certain things against Porzingis. But then who are the four, that you're going to go with the small four? Are you going to put Devo into the starting lineup, or is it going to be Hart? So I get it. Again, everything has to, just like the Sixers, you have to wait until you play on the court. Now, the one thing I am intrigued with is their second round pick that they got from Marquette. Because that kid, once I did my research on him, and first and foremost, you're playing in the same league as the back-to-back NCAA champions. So that says a lot. He's the Big East Player of the Year. That says a lot. He's left-handed. Who's their starting point guard? And isn't he also left-handed? Didn't he also come from the Big East? He's not overly talented, just like, okay. So now, as far as a point guard, I'm like, okay, if he develops and he's not 19, he's 23. So I'm like, okay. Now I'm intrigued by that, but we still got to play, just like Philly, just like you, Blaze, like you're saying, we got to play. Now, if you want to say Milwaukee's over us too, I'll even go with that.
Welcome back, Nikki.
What are you guys talking about?
Just like the Sixers and Knicks.
Movies and food, restaurants.
We're talking about Beavis and Butthead.
Strip clubs, cartoons.
I'm talking about GTD.
That too.
Y'all don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. Blaze might get it, but
I got it.
Okay.
Talk about prettiest NBA players' wives.
Came from the SEC. Okay, there we go. You're gonna get Blaze started now, because where did he come from? Kentucky.
Kentucky boy. Yeah.
How are the Bucks in question?
That's actually not a bad question.
Your sanity is in question, Damian.
How did Randall get on the panel for the finals? That's what I wonder. Like, I could see if it was like Jokic or Jamal Murray on the panel because they were in the finals last year. Or even remember the panel on ABC like at halftime with like Stephen A. and those guys? Julius Randle was part of it.
Okay.
Oh, because he was okay. He's the guest panelist.
Yeah, I don't get why him. I mean, no offense to Julius Randle, but I could see if it was like a Mike Malone or a Jamal Murray, someone who was at the finals recently.
He's from Kentucky, so
Man, he's still a player that a lot of people in the league respect. He's also an all-star.
He's going to come back and ruin the Knicks. He's going to come back and ruin the Knicks.
I mean, you could say that about Paul George too. Paul George was there, and he never made it to the finals.
Let's talk about the Spurs, so Rios can talk about his favorite.
Yeah. Let's talk about CP3 going to the Spurs. Let's start off with Rios. How do you feel?
Man, I've always been a big fan of Chris Paul's since his days with the Hornets. I'm glad he didn't go to the Lakers.
Right.
He was one of my favorite players when he was here in Houston. Honestly, if he didn't pull his hamstring against the Warriors in 2018, they would have beat the Cavs in the finals. That would have been a sweep. They'd easily beat the Cavs.
Yeah.
That's always going to be the biggest what if as a Houston sports fan for me. If he doesn't pull his hamstring, would have been talking about the Rockets. Yeah. Him with the Spurs, from a basketball standpoint, I see it as veteran leadership for Wemby, just because you need some veterans in the locker room. A guy that's been in the league for a long time, consummate pro, got to help him out, put him on the kind of the right path a little bit. But basketball-wise, I don't see them winning a lot of games. It's probably 25-30 win team still. Yeah. Even with CP3.
Yeah. They're all fighting for Cooper Flag, Ace Belly, Dylan Harper. That's all they care about.
2 out of the 3 are Rutgers boys. Okay, I understand that. I like it. They were good players. None of my guys are in the top 15 or 20.
Well, at least everyone's fighting for the Dookie, the little Dookie hole.
Dookie holes.
Yeah, Spurs are dumb for making a Dillingham trade.
Hey, I'm a UH fan. None of our players get drafted early in the first round, but we're in the final.
Well, see,
16 years here.
It sounds like they had a plan. Why? I mean, and this is me talking against a Kentucky player who I think has a ton of promise. But they could have took Dillingham and had a 19-year-old rookie that they had to wait a couple years, where they already have a young guy in Wemby. Why not bring in CP3, someone like you guys are saying, a veteran that could help lead the team a little more, not necessarily take over, and hopefully help Wemby become what he's going to be, but it's not going to change the world. So I don't know. I mean, is it a better move to go for that young 19-year-old prospect or get a veteran to come in and lead? At this point, why would you take a risk at Dillingham at this point? And I'm a Kentucky player saying I'll take the old CP3 at this point over Dillingham. Dillingham's ceiling is humongous.
They could have had both, honestly.
Technically, they could have. Yes, that's a good point.
That would have been a good mentor for him. One of the
they really could.
having the point guard as your mentor, like, come on, like, who wouldn't want that?
The Sixers have one. The Sixers got him. What are the odds? Please, we got him. What are the odds of us getting him in the undrafted? The guy didn't even get drafted.
Who? Edwards?
No. Was that the guy? Was that the guy I'm thinking about? Yeah, right, from Kentucky.
Yeah, he was number one high school coming out of high school, and then he didn't really pan out.
Yeah, but now we got him. I know you're happy there.
Hey, if he pans out to what he could have been coming out of high school, he was literally the best prospect coming out of high school.
Yeah. So, Nikki, how do you feel about CP3 going to the Spurs?
I mean, on one hand, I think CP3 does need to hang it up. He's past his expiration date. However, for the Spurs, obviously, they're bringing him in as a mentor to the younger guys because he's well past his prime, and that's all he's there for. And plus, it could help sell a few more tickets to their home games, but he's mainly there to be a mentor, help Wemby, help some of the younger guys there. It's not really going to translate into wins, though. And what did CP3 do last year? What was the CP3 effect on the Warriors? 10th seed and getting bounced in the play-in? He's not going to have a big effect on this team anymore. He's really just there for the young guys. That's all I see it as.
Yep. I get that. Coach, how do you feel about CP3 going to the Spurs?
And Mike, a good neighbor. CP3 is there. I mean, he's just a veteran to help Wemby. It's more about helping Wemby in the long run. That's really what it's about. And CP3 can help him in that regard. He can also help him be a leader because don't forget, he was in a leadership position with the Union. So he has those skills, and he can put Wemby in that position to understand the full spectrum of the league. Because it is different than being international, but develop his marketability, utilize his skill set, and really capitalize overall on what he brings to the NBA.
Wemby's already tearing it up in international play. I saw highlights today.
I saw that. I was watching it.
Stuff already.
I was watching it. Hey, how's it going? Thank you for stopping by. CP3, yeah, Popovich. I forgot. Fired. What?
Popovich is never going to get fired, Damian.
God.
Yo, Damian, man. You know what? I'm going to say this to you, player. I got some shorties for you, man. They're gonna temper you down. They're gonna calm you down, bro. And they're gonna help you really get your mind into focus. Seriously, player, come on, man. Popovich is not getting fired behind CP3. There is no way in hell. None.
Blaze, that tops it. That tops it.
That right there.
That one I wouldn't even have read. I just skip that one. So he's getting stupid now.
All right,
I'm not giving him the time of day of reading that motherfucker right there, Damien. You could shove that one up your ass, pal.
Reading that brought back the cancer. The fuck was that?
He's one of the best, not in the league in the league today, yes, but of all time.
Not just all time, but he's gonna get fired because
Popovich could go. Popovich could go 0-82, and he still won't get fired. Think about that.
Oh my God, Damien, can I mute him, please?
You talking about his name pop? Hey,
Your
did you
choice,
ever have a
man.
good?
Look,
Hey,
he is on
Damien,
my
did you
channel.
ever get a good pop in your life at all, bro? Seriously,
Yeah.
come on, man.
You get pop one off in the corner there, buddy.
He needs a hot
Okay,
tool.
now we're getting Pop overrated as Belichick.
There you go.
Yeah, God. All right. Anywho, the NBA free agency is going on. I'm gonna start off with Blaze on this one. Who won free agency? Who's winning right now? Which team?
Well, I'm gonna go right back. I'm gonna stick to my guns to what I said. I think Dallas in the finals, adding Clay is huge, and I think and the other pieces that they added, and then I would put the Sixers up there because they did make some of the big moves that we were expecting instead of sitting here going, damn, they didn't do shit. So I think when you're a team that's in the finals and you add someone like Clay, you know, that's got to give them the nod for improving on the team that they already had. Because I don't know, I think that fills the one hole that may push them over the hump. But like we were just talking about, that West is packed. There's a lot of great teams in the West.
Really,
But-
it is. I only see a 3.
Who?
Go look at the West. Seriously,
Yeah, I mean, what teams do you see there?
OKC,
Yep.
Dallas,
Okay, that's 2.
Minnesota.
And the Nuggets?
Minnesota.
Oh, not even the Nuggets.
Nope. Nuggets has
Wow.
been losing. The Nuggets losing pieces, man.
They
They're
are.
losing
They
pieces,
are.
and that's pushing them down. And
I
now,
can't take Denver, Oklahoma City out of it. Oklahoma City's the number one team in the West.
the Clippers. No, they lost Paul George.
I
Yeah,
mean,
go-
the Clippers.
Go
Oklahoma and
through.
Denver.
Look at the West. Because NYG said it. He said, has the power shifted to the East now? Because you can
Let's
say
see.
there's 4 teams in the East, even though
I think
Boston
the
is
Grizzlies snap back. The Kings are still competitive.
Grizzlies
the Warriors
are-
still make moves. Pelicans can make moves. The Lakers can be dangerous. The Suns still have stars.
the Lakers. No, I'm not
As
confident.
long as
in the
LeBron
Lakers.
James is on their team, they're dangerous.
I get it, but I'm
He's been a team for 6 years. They were a playing team at best. Look at
There's 12 teams in the West that could win the West.
I disagree. I only see 3.
them.
Now Memphis is the sneaky, intriguing one. Yes,
They're the X factor of
What
the.
is John Moran going to do? And then and people can say what you want about Zach Edey. That pick and roll with those 2 alone, that's a big mofo right there.
We
That's
just
a-
talked about Utah, and we can't forget Rios' team,
I
Houston,
can't with
outplayed
Utah.
themselves this year. They're just
Utah
better together.
and Houston are kind of like in that second tier, like Orlando is in the East.
Damien, the Hornets are in the Eastern Conference,
those
buddy. We're
3.
talking about the West.
Add Denver and Oklahoma City. They were the top 2 teams, but the second tier is huge too in the West. If you want to get real technical,
See, I see.
I'm only counting Spurs and the Blazers out. Everybody else is competitive except for those 4 at the top or whatever. There are a dozen.
Okay,
good
here's the
teams
question:
in the West.
Are we talking about championship? See, I'm looking at that can compete for a championship legitimately. You want to make an argument with Denver? I might.
You can.
Accept it. I can accept it, but they lost a lot, in my opinion.
I
That's
agree.
why. That's
Coach
why
on
it's
that,
like.
but
And
for
I'm
me,
looking
like
at the
right
top 3. It's like Dallas, Minnesota, and OKC.
Well, I'll say
They
this.
are.
A year ago, would any of those 3 been championship contenders? No.
No.
A lot of division here.
No.
You're going Denver.
Yeah, exactly. You're doing Denver, and now Denver.
That's
You're
what they're
looking
doing
at
this year with Boston, and I think like you're kind of alluding to, the East is a little more open than it was. Definitely, I would definitely say that it's not just a couple of teams. I think you got to throw a couple other names in the hat, but I still say the West is a lot deeper.
in terms of teams that can play competitive basketball. Yes, you're
I
right.
mean, we don't know how the Lakers are going to be
Championship,
constructed
I think,
completely. We don't know how the Warriors are going to be constructed
Right.
completely.
3 teams on both conferences that are championship contenders.
Yeah.
Right. OKC, though, that team, especially now, they're loading up now.
Speaking of OKC, they're the
Now
team
they make a finals run or win a finals.
Speaking of OKC, they're my team that's winning free agency right now.
That's where I'm kind of headed, because don't forget about Caruso. Caruso is
Yes.
a tough ass defender, and he's going to help them out immensely on the defensive end. And then people can kill Hartenstein, still a good player. I mean, he was a bench player, and he capitalized when Mitchell Robinson went out with an injury
he's a
to
spark.
get 3 years, $87 million. So it's
When your moment comes up, you got
Tommy. The Heat right now, I'm waiting to see. You know what? I did forget about the Pacers, because the Pacers signing who's it? This backup center that they just got too, that I wanted the Knicks to consider.
That's gonna bother me now.
And the Pacers are keeping their core too. They locked Siakam.
Yeah.
They're keeping Halliburton, so they're keeping the team that was pretty damn successful. Yeah, I forgot about the Pacers as well.
Yeah. So you can add them into that equation now, as far as with New York, Philly, and Milwaukee. So it's like, you know what? There's that top tier. Boston is the top tier on both conferences. I'm sorry, on both. Until you take it away from them, they're the top tier. And everyone else is on that second tier in the West and in the East.
I agree.
I agree with that.
I mean, the Heat. I'm going to put the Heat below the second tier. You can talk about Jimmy Buckets, and he's a dog, and Bam Adebayo, but it's once you get past those two, who? Now, if you get DeMar DeRozan,
talking about Isaiah Jackson for the Pacers, the backup center?
No. Was it Jackson? No.
Because I'm looking at their depth chart right now. They got
signed him. They just signed him in a free agency. Hold on, I have to look at it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
News.
Wiseman.
Thank you, Wiseman. Yes.
Yeah.
Wiseman.
Because on their depth chart, it had Wiseman on the third. So I'm like, huh? And I was like, oh, it's Wiseman.
Him and Turner. Think about that. I'm not saying Wiseman is an elite player, but he's still a serviceable big. That's where I'm looking at the Knicks. Like, I'm like, yo, we have to compete against that too. So you guys with Embiid and Drummond, and now them with Wiseman, and then you just said Wiseman, Turner, and you said Isaac was the other one. Yeah. So now they're going three, and we have Mitchell
Isaiah
Robinson.
Jackson. Yeah.
I mean Isaiah Jackson, and we have Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims. That's why I'm not.
Jonathan Isaac signed with the Magic. He's staying.
So Memphis though is sneaky, interesting. The Warriors, like you said, Blaze, they still have work to do. The Pelicans, I don't know. There's just something about you lost your starting center too. So it's but you
that's
guys are making good
take,
points.
Arku, that's a hot take. That's a hot take, Arku. And I like it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I have been sleeping on them.
I can see it.
Them at number 4. How is that? I mean, we just said there's 3 teams, so if we're going to add a 4th, it would be Indiana.
Miami.
You have Miami over Indiana.
4. So if you put them in the top 4 in the East, that's Boston is number 1, and then you have Milwaukee, Philly.
It's the top 5.
Pacers.
So,
and then Pacers would be 4th.
Yeah, no, Pacers would be 5. They got.
No, I'm going. They took care of us.
Knicks, Bucks, Pacers.
Celtics, Knicks, Bucks, Sixers.
I would still put the Heat over the Pacers because the Pacers can't play defense. That's their biggest Achilles. You can score.
Pacers are better than the Sixers.
Rios,
Pacers are definitely better than the Sixers.
What they did to us. They play defense against us.
Yeah, as of right now. How the season went, how the postseason went, and where they're at right now with their rosters, Indiana is better than Philly.
Indiana's better than New York.
That one I think they're like right.
But see, how can you do that?
And those two are right there because both of those.
How can you do that then and not include Philly in there? Because Philly and New York
got a whole different fucking team. We only have
the Knicks do too. Whether you realize Hartenstein is a big loss, that takes a lot away from us.
That's the biggest loss.
That's a big loss. And then you're throwing in Bridges. That changes the whole dynamic of this team. Now, it does give us 2 good wing defenders in some regards, guys who can, score from the corners. And how far did your team
go in the playoffs? And how far did the Sixers go? Yes, Knicks above Sixers, Pacers above Sixers.
Okay, then that's why. But that's why I said based on your line and what you just said, then that's why Indiana's above the Knicks. But you said no, you're putting them right there, one right there with each
To
other.
me,
And I'm
those two, either one could be the next if Boston slips. I could see either one of those teams carrying the East.
I can
Either
see
one.
Philly, and I get what you're doing because it's called what I do with in terms of being superstitious. Because
He does it too. Coach does it
I'm
too.
superstitious. Yeah, I'm superstitious. You can make the same argument with Milwaukee too, because we don't really, and Milwaukee hasn't really made any changes. And the only thing you want to do is you want to put in Middleton into that lineup. That changes, that improves them, and they play together. So there's no, and you still have Giannis, and you have Dame. You have Giannis and Dame, and that's elite right there alone.
As long as they can stay healthy the entire way.
But every last one
for everybody.
But that's everyone, because the Knicks and you guys can both say the same thing.
You can say that with every. You can go right down the line with every team.
Miami with Jimmy Buckets.
Pacers lose Halliburton. Denver loses Jokic. Embiid.
Well, hopefully Halliburton gets back in the ring and gets cracked upside the head with a chair. Then take care of that.
Blaze, how'd you feel about that? I gotta ask you, how'd you feel about that with Brunson and Halliburton in SmackDown?
You can go all the way back to the days of Mongo McMichael and the Fridge. They mix wrestling, football players into wrestling, basketball players, pro sport. I like it because you're taking the competitive sports and kind of meshing them in with the theatrical entertainment of wrestling to kind of make people think, oh, well, they're competitive sports. And I've always loved it when they had people in the Royal Rumble that was a professional football player or something. I always thought that was cool. And there is crossovers. I mean, Roman Reigns played football. Goldberg played football. Like a lot
crossover.
The Rock played football. Yeah, so it's like there's a lot of players that I love when they do that, when they throw
Dennis Rodman
athletes.
True crossover with Dennis Rodman.
I
mean cross-dresser. Cross-dresser. I'm sorry, not crossover.
Well, Dennis Rodman did wrestle a few times.
Yeah. NWO.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm with you, Blaze. But I'm still gonna say the same thing. When I saw Brunson and getting in the ring, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Plus, it adds to I've said it a million times on my wrestling podcast. A big thing to me is the crowd. And when you're taking a crowd in Madison Square Garden or in Indianapolis, and you're bringing their stars out, you're going to get a pop, and you're going to get a crowd reaction, which is always entertaining.
Well, then when you get to Indiana, you need Caitlin Clark to get into with the ladies. Then,
yeah. There's already been rumors of her showing up on a wrestling show.
Hey, that wouldn't be opposed.
As a manager, as to introduce somebody, right now.
I heard for the Rumble.
She's the Midas touch. So any entertainment industry, if I'm making commercials, I want Caitlin Clark on my commercial.
Last night when they went and played against Las Vegas, 20,000 plus in the stadium. 20,000.
Can you imagine the requests she's getting for sponsorships?
Yes.
Over this past year, think about it. Ever since Iowa was blowing up, imagine how many things she's been offered to work for. Do
Mitch,
commercials.
last one. The last
I
one.
Saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah, that one.
All right. So for the WNBA, guys, you can actually tune in to tomorrow for the Four Court Press podcast with Coach Glenny, Next Shift Randy, and Nick from Sleeper Sports Media. I like that one. Yeah, I did too. They're funny.
Take my money right now.
Yeah. So actually, we just gotta talk about this, and that's Bronny getting drafted to the Lakers, and
I knew it.
And we all did, and it's stirring up controversy on how it was done with this whole nepotism.
Oh my gosh.
LeBron. And all that stuff. And then Bronny getting paid 4 years, $7.9 million. And then LeBron getting 2 years, $104 million. Or 102, rather. So, yeah, Bronny signed a 4-year deal. Let's start off with Rios on this. How do you feel?
There's shocking news. Water is wet.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't surprised he's going to get drafted by the Lakers. I mean, there was reports, from Shams that, Rich Paul was calling teams, hey, if you draft Bronny, he's going to Australia or whatever. if you draft him. So we can go there like, I mean, we all saw it coming. I really don't care. Like, we all saw it coming. Like, it's, it sucks. And, he does. It's hard to put into words. Like, I really don't care, honestly. We all saw it coming. It's not a shock. It is what it is, basically.
I agree with that. Nikki?
Yeah, I mean, look, I called it. As we were getting close to the draft, it's obvious he was going to the Lakers. LeBron was heavily invested in the idea of it. He wants to stay in LA. And Bronny didn't do anything that would actually to light the world on fire during his year at USC. So the Lakers is like, all right, let's make LeBron happy. It's at least that's how it's coming across as. But they're also thinking, okay, maybe with his dad, they're hoping with his dad there, it'll help him grow his game as a player so he can be valuable for the future. That remains to be determined. So maybe it's part that, but they clearly want to keep LeBron happy too. So it's a combination of the two factors. But yeah, it's obvious. He's with the Lakers. It's over. Now let's just wait and see what they do and what they fill out the remaining spots on their roster with.
Yep. And they just got 2 more coaches too, Scotty Brooks and Nate McMillan. So 2 assistant coaches. So Blaze, how do you feel?
First, let's get this out of the way. If it was any of us, we would do the same damn thing for our son. If it was
I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him.
I'm just saying it's for the general public out there that, I heard this a million times and it's nothing new. The nepotism thing has always been there.
Yeah, right.
Coaching within the hierarchy of ownership, owners hire their kids to work, as temps when they start. They're going to hand, that's business in general. Think about the mom and pop pizza shop or the factory that your dad owns. It's going to go to your kid, so it's kind of like the passing of the torch. The thing that, it's a little upsetting to me. It's become more of the spectacle of this happening other than the idea of going for a championship. That's the only thing that's kind of, it's like you can say that, but then again, there was a player who got drafted 30th that scored 2 points a game in college. Bronny scored 4. I mean, so what? The kid's never had a problem off the court. He's got a great persona. He said he wants to make his own legacy. If it starts out with his dad and they make history for the year, does that really affect your life? Is that really that bad? So like I said, if it was your son, and think about his heart condition. I mean, this is a great story. Whether LeBron was his dad or not, this kid should have been dead last year and ended up playing, or 2 years ago, whenever it was. And you'd think most kids that would go through that are never competing in a sport again. This kid overcame. This kid is a hell of a story, whether he plays these 2 or 3 years and even fulfills his contract, or whether he goes for 10 years and is a decent, solid player. We can go back, and someone did this too, and they were showing, here's the number 55 pick from 3 years ago, from 4 years ago, from 5 years ago. Players that they don't know if they're going to pan out or not. The only reason it's different is because of the name on the back of his jersey. So good for him. The one thing I thought was weird was I thought LeBron was looking for 3 years. Why he settled for 2 in the player option? Because to me at this point, why not wait and play with Bryce too?
That's exactly what I told Coach earlier.
It's like if they can make it happen, the worst thing that I can think about it is that Laker fans can be pissed that they're not trying to build a championship team. They're trying to build a James team. But I mean, think about it though. The chips just fell where they may this year. And whether, the guy was telling people not to draft him, he'll go to Australia, which is probably 100% true, because they're talking about it. It happened. Like you guys said, does it really change the world? The kid didn't play a lot of college. We all were talking about it last year and previously that he needs more time. I'm already hearing, don't be surprised he goes to the G League and doesn't come into the actual league until after the All-Star break. That would be something I would be okay with. I can also see opening day. It's the James show, and that's all they're talking about is that first game. where the fucking Bronny James is starting for some reason just to say they played. I'm hoping it's more that you do see him go to the G League and get a little bit of time to develop. You're going to see him in Summer League. He's already played with top-level talent.
Correct.
Ever since he was a kid, he's playing outside of his high school. He's playing with all these, so he's used to playing with top-level talent for years already. Think about Luka. When Luka came over, we all talked about he was playing with top-level talent over there for years, so it kind of helped. Whether Bronny did really well, which he didn't in USC, was that because he's not that good or because he was in a position where he couldn't play over the Colliers and the other players that are NBA ready? We don't know the whole story. Is he a good kid and I'm rooting for him? Yes. And that doesn't matter what his last name is, and I got to meet him. I think he's just listening to him. If I'm trying to take the James part out, just forget he's LeBron's son. And you think about how he talked, how he played. What do we have against this kid? What has he done wrong? He's never been in trouble or nothing. You're not hearing any of these stories about, off the court, he's an issue, or he keeps on throwing around that he's LeBron's son. He's not. He's doing the opposite. So I'm kind of rooting for the kid, but I'm not a Laker fan, so I'm not really rooting for them. But it happened. Nepotism is everywhere in business. It's just under such a big microscope when it comes to LeBron. Think back, guys, when he came out when he first joined the league, we talked about nothing but LeBron. They zoomed in on his pregame when LeBron started playing. So as much as we knock LeBron for some of the bullshit he does now, that is the guy who also has an amazing story if you dig real deep into his personal life on how he grew up. And the fact that magnifying glass, listen, Michael Jordan, as much as he is my GOAT, the greatest, he didn't have as much of a microscope on him that LeBron did, and LeBron still succeeded with that eyeballs on him constantly since he was a teenager. And he is now 20 years into playing this game. He's his 22nd year, now the longest that anyone's ever played, along with Vince Carter. He's going to break that record, and he's going to go down arguably as the greatest of all time. And like I said earlier, regardless of how they sculpt this team, as long as LeBron's on this team, they are a dangerous team. Do I think they're a championship team? No, because, like a lot of people can say, instead of picking LeBron, why didn't you go get somebody else that can help the team now? Is the number 55 pick really going to get them Klay Thompson or Paul George or somebody? No. So this pick shouldn't affect as many people as it did. But it is also the reason I think we will continue to have 2 night drafts.
Yep. Coach, I already know how you feel, but yeah.
Blaze, thank you for a lot of what you just said, brother. I really appreciate that, man. Because
people were really knocking him before knowing him. They're all blaming everything on LeBron. Let's give this kid his opportunity.
It's first and foremost, I'm going to start with the LeBron bullshit.
Ooh.
Because a lot of you people are hypocritical. Because Blaze, you said it. Coming out of high school, and I saw him and Melo when they came to Jersey and played in Trenton. I saw them play, and everybody was in love with them. LeBron came into the NBA. Everyone was in love with him. He went to Cleveland, his home state, and everything. Everyone was in love with him. Everything changed because of the decision, and because he went to Miami, and because he put it on national TV. That's where all the hate changed, because people just didn't like it. So what? It's stupid. Like Blaze said, nepotism starts, it's been in effect for years. As a Giants fan, one of the things we cried about is the Maras giving family members jobs who weren't doing a good job. It's always been there. It's always been, and it's always going to be there. But because these are the owners, people just can't really say anything. But now you want to attack the players. But what about coaches too? Don't forget, coaches bring their kids in onto their staff, and they give them jobs. And
Belichick's and Shanahan's.
So it go, but nobody says anything. But LeBron does this, and because he has earned the power, this man has not done. You got what you would call it in Toronto, in Canada, facing felony charges because of what he did. But you don't hear shit from LeBron doing that.
Wait,
Michael Jordan, the greatest in the game, gambling, would go gamble in Atlantic City and then come back and go into Philly and play a game. But nobody says anything about that. But yet and still, LeBron James, all the hate, and now you're trickling it down to his kid. This is bullshit. It's bullshit. And it's sad. It's sickening. It's disgusting because people look at his life and what it is. And a lot of you are probably just envious and wish you had the advantages that he worked his butt off, because he did work his butt off in high school to get this opportunity. Grow up, mind your business. Stop digging in somebody else's backyard. You want to critique the game? Critique their games. That's cool. But because he opened the door, because Blaze said it best, any of us with our children, we would go bend over backwards for our kids to give them the same damn opportunities. And just for a little fun fact, do you know who the top dad and son scoring duo is in the NBA? Jelly Bean Bryant and Kobe Bryant, with over 38,000 points. LeBron has 40,000. So when Bronny scores 1 point, they're going to be tops.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are going to make a big deal out of that too. Trust and believe they're going to be. That's why I'm putting this out there now. But y'all are going to make a big deal about it. Man, it's so sickening, man. I'm tired of it. It just, let them play the game of basketball. And you know what? If anybody deserves the opportunity, this man does, because he represented the game of basketball honestly, with dignity, with class and respect. He has not made the NBA look bad other than the decision. Okay, he chose to go to Miami. He had that right. That's the rules of the game. And if you're gonna hate the game, then you better go in there and change the rules.
Otherwise, hate the player, hate the game.
Exactly. Pimping is pimping, plain and simple. And he pimped the game. So whatever. Bron, proud of you, brother. Bronny, I know you're gonna represent the league well, no matter what. Whether you play in the G League or in the NBA, whatever. People and other guys are gonna hate on him. I get it, because you're gonna be jealous. So what? Get your money, get your bank, $7 million. And just one last point too, okay? Because I said it last night on Heart of the City too, with a lot of these kids. Parents, get your kids into athletic programs as best you can. If they can't get an academic scholarship, help them get an athletic scholarship, because they just did an interview with the kid from Carolina, and he talked about NIL and the opportunities Carolina had afforded him. And he made over $2 million, I think, in the last year and a half, just through NIL.
Who are you talking about?
One of the guys with the center for North Carolina. I forgot his name.
Yeah. I thought you meant Jaron McCain, because he's that too.
No. But my point being is, if you really care about your kids and you wanted, this is what you want to do. You want to get them in programs. Number one, it gets them out of the house. It stops them from playing video games all day long, sitting around doing nothing. It gets them active. Sports teaches them great social skills, leadership skills, a whole lot more competition, because you're going to be competing in well. It allows you networking opportunities, because guess what? A lot of every kid is not going to make it to the pros. So you want to have the network that can also open up other doors. Yeah, Armando Banca. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that. But the point being is, this is what we should be doing for our kids. So what LeBron is doing, is what every last one of us, and I'm telling parents literally to do the same thing to a certain extent. Go open up the doors for your kids. Open up the damn doors for your kids and get them out there. Let them be active. Let them be healthy. Set them up for their future. Teach them critical thinking skills and to be able to be productive members to society, whether it's by playing a damn sport or if you can get it through academics. But whatever way, and LeBron James doing this, he just did exactly what I was just talking about, but on a grander scale. I'm done.
Yeah.
Hey, I give a lot of hate to LeBron, but real quick, I just want to say we got to stop and think about something. How many players are going to play for 22 years at that level all the time? We got to stop and say, I'm glad I got to watch him play. I'm glad I got to see Steph Curry change the game, because we're not going to see those two guys play for too much longer. And will we ever see a player like LeBron again? I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see another player that'll play 22 years at that level every year. We always see like players have a couple years at the beginning where they got to take the ramp up, or a couple years at the end where they're just playing on a team to play for a couple years. They're not scoring the 20 points a game they did before. LeBron's done it all 22 years. So whether I like him, how he plays now or not, I respect him for what he's done to the game. And I as much as part of me wishes Bronny started on a different team, why not strike while the iron's hot? Who knows if 2 years LeBron can't play anymore and he never got a chance to play with his kid. So I see why they did
it. Yeah. So I just got to say this one thing, and then we're going to close out this episode. Great episode, by the way, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. 78, 79 next week. It will be on the Hardcore Sports Spotify. I just got one thing to say. Could you imagine if Boston Celtics actually drafted Bronny right before the Lakers took him? Could you imagine that? Like, what would happen there? I just wanted one team to call the bluff. I wanted one team to do it. It was like, watch it be Boston, and we're like, we'll give you Bronny if you give us this, and this, or
one
whatever.
last dumbass comment from Damien.
Leave him alone.
Damien's a good guy, guys. He's a good guy.
Yeah,
Trust me,
he's a good guy.
Damien, he can take a lot worse.
Oh, seriously, yeah, I know
leave
that.
him be at this point.
No, it's all good.
No, he asked for it. He's totally cool with it.
Yeah. All right, guys. On that note, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe to all of our channels. We'll see you guys next week. And one more thing, guys. What's next? Who's the next move? Actually, we just got one, Taurean Prince to the Milwaukee Bucks. So who's next? We'll find out soon. Catch you all later. And
Alex Burke.
what?
Alex Burke to the Heat.
Oh, yeah. Peace.